Okay. Sawa. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unclench Your Jaw. Hi, again, I am Nimu, strength and conditioning coach, somatic yin yoga therapist, mother of one, friend to many, secretly the most loved relative, and of course, still very much the favorite sister. I've called this episode The Cost of Being Easy because so many people spend years becoming easy for everybody, easy to rely on, easy to ask things from, easy to overlook, easy to burden. And somewhere along the way, they may stop asking themselves what it has cost them emotionally to always be the calm one, to always be the accommodating one, to be the low maintenance one, the one who keeps the peace, or as many emotionally exhausted people call it, the one who is just being nice. This episode is about people pleasing, self abandonment, boundaries, nervous systems, and what happens when survival turns into a personality. Now, listen, I'm not saying that being kind is a bad thing. Being kind is beautiful. Being compassionate is beautiful. Being considerate is, yes, you guessed it, beautiful. But constantly abandoning yourself to keep other people comfortable, that is something else entirely because people pleasing is rarely just kindness, it is often survival. Now, here's the thing many people learned very early in life that safety came from being easy, being useful, not upsetting people, managing everyone's emotions, and staying emotionally small. So eventually, the body learns if I keep everyone comfortable, I'll stay connected to people. Now, that's not personality, that's adaptation. Some people become so good at keeping the peace that they no longer know how to hear themselves. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about people pleasing is that it comes from generosity alone. And sometimes it does. I'm not saying it doesn't come from generosity, but often people pleasing is fear trying to stay lovable. And I'm going to say that again. People pleasing is fear trying to stay lovable. You ask someone, Hiya, where do you want to go and eat today? They tell you, I'm easy. You try again. Where do you want to kula leo? Anyway, sawa. Meanwhile, this person absolutely has preferences. Why? Because they're probably gluten, they can't eat food with gluten, they're vegetarian, they're all these other things. And they jua that you're a person who loves nyama. So of course you're going to choose a kajoint where they're going to kula nyama, but they're not saying it. Somewhere along the line, they learned that taking up space feels uncomfortable. So they don't offer up their own wants or needs for that matter. So, they've become what I call emotionally gluten free. They don't have opinions. They don't have needs. They don't to cause it to be an inconvenience. And the thing is, these people pleasers are deeply emotionally intelligent. They can read moods instantly. They can sense tension quickly. They can anticipate conflict. They can manage group dynamics and they notice emotional shifts immediately. And we'll come to why they do that. And we'll come to why they do that right now. They do that because of hyper awareness. Their hyper awareness has kept them safe. Now, we have a woman, let's call her Halima. Halima grows up in a highly unpredictable home. Sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's warm, sometimes the parent, and I'm not talking about the temperature of the house, I'm talking about the carers, the parents. Sometimes they're cold, sometimes they're explosive. So this child, Halima, learns to monitor the emotional weather constantly. So as an adult, she then becomes incredibly thoughtful, accommodating, deeply reliable, and emotionally attentive. Everyone calls Halima, she's so selfless. But privately, Halima is exhausted. And why is she exhausted? Because her nervous system never stopped scanning. Self abandonment often looks socially acceptable, and that's why it survives for so long unnoticed. Now, let's go back to science class. We learned about fight or flight. Some people may know about the freeze, but very few people talk about the fawning. The fawn response is when the nervous system prioritizes appeasing others to maintain safety. So it sounds like, no worries, it's sour, whatever works for you. No, I don't mind what you say. No, I don't mind when they tease me. No, I don't mind when they make fun of me. Meanwhile, internally, the body absolutely minds. People pleasing lives in the body. And what you'll often see is things like shallow breathing, tight shoulders, jaw tension. And on that note, unclench that jaw, unclench that jaw. Smiling while distressed. How many times have you seen a friend? You can see they're distressed, but they're smiling. The smile doesn't reach their eyes, it's just around the mouth, but their eyes are telling a very different story. It can show up as anxiety around conflict, like extreme anxiety around conflict. It can show up as over explaining, as, kind of immediate guilt after enforcing boundaries, because for so many people, boundaries feel physically unsafe, not intellectually, but physically in your body. It feels unsafe. Now, imagine someone sends you a message, just a mildly disappointing text, nothing major, nothing dramatic, no shouting, no war crimes, just a message like, okay, I was hoping you'd be there. So, for example, you guys have planned to hang out or lunch or dinner, whatever, and you text them saying that actually I can't make it, and they send you a text saying, okay, Sasa, I was hoping you'd be there. And immediately, the people pleasing, and these purrs are becoming a lot. Peter picked, what was it? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Anyway, so the people pleasing jumps into place, and the nervous system begins to spiral like it's preparing for an exile from the village. Now you're busy over explaining, you're over apologizing, you're over apologizing even. You're writing and rewriting the text message. So the person is just seeing, write, delete those two small dots when you're writing, and then they see it stopping. You're emotionally buffering. And yeah, to the point you're even considering changing identities entirely and moving out to a different country because the body learned early that disappointment threatened connection. Many people pleasers are carrying years of unspoken resentment underneath their kindness. And I know that sounds wild about resentment. I know the people pleasers are sitting there thinking, resentment? I don't even know what resentment looks like. There is resentment being hapo underneath the kindness, and because the body always notices self-abandonment even when the mind tries to rationalize it. Our minds will rationalize anything. We've seen in politics how our minds rationalize anything. I've been very clear about where I stand in politics, and I'm consistently surprised at what I call the new nyamas, because they will pretzel their bodies into to explaining anything wild that the current administration does. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so our minds are very good at rationalizing anything or justifying anything. Now, people pleasing becomes especially complicated in relationships, right? Because many people pleasers confuse being needed with being loved. And so they become this person who's the fixer, they become the peacemaker, the emotional support system for everyone, the overfunction. If there's something to be planned, they're the ones who are running around planning everything at their own expense. They're the ones who are consistently bending over for other people. And eventually, as you can imagine, the resentment will build because no one is helping you plan, because you're the one who does everything for them. A man, let's call him Mutua. Mutua grows up being praised only when he's useful. Mutua is a helpful child, he's a responsible child. Mutua is never difficult. As an adult partner, Mutua becomes incredibly dependable. He pays bills, he handles logistics, he's always available. But emotionally, this man struggles to express needs because somewhere deep down he learned my value is what I do for people, not for who he is, not for who Mutua is. Mutua thinks that his value is what he does, not for who he is, right? So now every relationship of his becomes a performance, and that is tiring as well, and that will also build up resentment. And in one of I think one of the future episodes, we're going to talk about what's been happening in this country of ours when it comes to relationships, and people saying no, and that's both men and women, and how they're reacting to that. Now, we have a mother. I'll give you another story. We have a mother. Let's call her Mama Milka. And some of you legends will know ma Milka, 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 bonyo, 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 sim, pelele. Anyway, Mama Milka is overwhelmed. The children need things, work needs things, life needs things, and her partner asks her nicely, "Tell me what you need." Mama Milka says, "Ni sawa, I'll do it myself." Meanwhile, her nervous system has not sat down since bouncing baby Milka was born Huko in 2016. Hyperfunctioning gets rewarded a lot in society, sadly, especially in women, especially in parents, and people pleasers. I'm going to have to figure out this. People praise people pleasers constantly. Now try and say that quickly. People praise people pleasers constantly. I got it. Anyway, you're so strong, is what they hear. You always hold everything together, is another thing they hear. You're so amazing. Meanwhile, again, that nervous system is somewhere chewing drywall because they're tired. They are tired. The nervous system is tired. And this is where parenting becomes important. Children do not need perfect parents. I'll say that again. Children do not need perfect parents. And by the way, perfect is an illusion. There is nothing like perfect. And this is why we get so frustrated trying to choose this thing, to chase this thing we call perfection, because it does not exist. What children need is emotionally safe parents. And those are not this that's not the same thing. Perfect and emotionally safe. Those are two very different things. Healthy parenting includes things like repair. So if you mess up, own up to it. Apologize to the child, not that nonsense of, as an African, I can't apologize to a child. No, 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 no. That story needs to be dropped like a rotten egg. If you mess up with your child, apologize. Because also, again, I keep asking, if you do not apologize, if you don't model for this child, how do you think this child will then learn how to apologize later on in life? You'll hear parents when they're much older, my child did this and they don't even apologize. Where did they learn to apologize? You didn't show them how to apologize, so why would they be apologizing to you? They don't know what that means or what it looks like. So you need to learn how to repair with these children, and from an early age. And I know it's triggering to hear that. I know there are many people who are sitting there thinking, I'm going to switch off this podcast right now if this chick then stop talking about apologizing to my child. But stay with me, you'll learn something. So, healthy parenting also includes healthy boundaries, and that means boundaries that are not rigid, boundaries that are not porous, but boundaries that are firm. And by rigid, I mean we need to be a bit more flexible with our boundaries. I've got friends who say that things have to be done a certain way in their house. So it's not what the end result is; it's how it's been done, which is really unfair because that's how you want to do it. What should be important is that the dishes are clean. If the person has decided to start by washing the sufurias and not the mugs, see, the sufurias, as long as the sufurias and the mugs are clean, that is what is in need. So you need to become more flexible. Porous then also means that you allow people, you become like a carpet, right? So you have no boundaries. So they need to be firm, your boundaries. Now, kids also deserve emotional honesty. They deserve co-regulation. So being able to sit with your child and figure out what is happening emotionally, even when you are feeling sad or angry or whatever, talking to them about it. This idea of trying to be again the perfect parent who doesn't show your child emotions. It's not doing. I mean, look at ourselves. How is it going so far? It's not going well. Um, and we can't continually or continue to be these parents who self-sacrifice. Again, the resentment will build. That's why you hear people saying, I did everything for my child and they don't da, 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 and so on and so forth. No, it's good to do things for your child, but also you need to do things for yourself. um a lot of people think boundaries are communication skills, but boundaries are nervous system work too. The nervous system comes into it. And this is because boundaries challenge attachment fears. People pleasers often they fear rejection, they fear conflict, they fear abandonment. They really, really, really fear disappointing people. They hate seeming selfish. I was having a conversation with my daughter the other day, and she was telling me how, yeah, no, 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 Mama, I'm learning how to be selfish nowadays. Me, if I hear someone saying two term, I block them. I'm not their friends anymore. And so I said, I mean, this is what you're talking about, not being selfish. Says even if someone calls me selfish, I don't care. And so, of course, we had the conversation about when to be selfish and when not to be selfish. But also, it's about figuring out for herself what for her is selfish and what isn't selfish. People pleasers also fear, and it's a big, big fear, losing connection with people, which means even tiny boundaries can feel extremely terrifying. So, I'm lisping. So, saying things like no, asking for space, expressing anger. Meanwhile, anger is a healthy emotion. I don't know why people are scared of anger. Anger is an emotion like any other. Anger is an emotion like happiness, like frustration. It's an emotion like any other. The problem is what you do with that anger. Do you go out and punch someone in the face when you're angry, or do you run around your compound to try and kind of remove that anger from yourself? Anyway, boundaries like kind of things like resting can be very scary for some people because it's called laziness, whereas you do need to rest. You do need to rest. Disagreeing with people is another thing that they don't like doing. um Haya, another story. We have a lady called Wambui. Wambui finally says, actually can't make it tonight. And the reason they can't make it tonight is because they have been asked by their boss to stay and do overtime because there's a breaking story emerging. She then spends the next 4 hours feeling like an irredeemably selfish criminal, not because she's done something wrong, but because her nervous system associates boundaries with guilt. Many people pleasers feel guilt before they've even done anything wrong. The guilt that arrives is it's like a pre-installed guilt, right? And this is why yin yoga can feel so emotional for people pleasers. Yes, we are back to the yin yoga, and every episode is going to have yin yoga, apart from when I'm talking about rugby and the strength and conditioning for athletes, so for everyone actually. Are you out there doing exercises? I mean, you guys are just sitting on your couches. Anyway, Yin asks, what does it feel, or what does enough feel like? Right? Not a performance, not pushing, but what does enough feel like? And for people who are used to overriding themselves, that question can feel deeply, deeply unfamiliar. Yin teaches us boundary awareness, it teaches us sensation awareness, it teaches us self connection, it teaches us nervous system regulation and being able to stay present without collapsing. And that is emotional work. It really is. Um, One of the hardest things for people pleasers is learning that disagreement does not automatically equal danger. or abandonment or rejection. We have a dude. Let's call him Rama. Rama starts therapy in his 30s. He realizes he spent most of his life shape shifting to avoid disappointing people. He's a different personality at work. He's a different personality in relationships. He's a different personality with families. He's always adjusting, always softening himself, always accommodating. And then one day, his therapist, as they do, asks him, "What do you actually want?" And he genuinely does not know because he has spent years orienting himself around everyone else. And this is where the healing begins. Not with becoming selfish, but with becoming visible to yourself again. A friend says, "You never ask for help." And the people pleaser laughs and says, "Ha ha, yes, because I'm an independent queen. Because I'm there here, it's a good thing." Meanwhile, what the support system is hearing is, I need to brace myself for this emotional vulnerability because I don't like it. For many people, receiving feels far scarier than giving. One of the bravest things a chronic people pleaser can do is disappoint someone and survive it. Boundaries are not cruelty, boundaries are self respect. And before I finish today, I want you to ask yourself, when did I first learn that keeping people comfortable was my responsibility? When did I first learn that keeping people comfortable was my responsibility? And what happens in my body when someone is disappointed with me? Do I panic? Do I over explain? Do I apologize immediately? Do I abandon myself to restore harmony? And I can imagine relationships where authenticity feels safer, or rather, can I imagine relationships where authenticity feels safer than performance? Because your nervous system deserves relationships where you do not have to appear or you do not have to disappear to stay loved. I'll say that again. Because your nervous system deserves relationships where you do not have to disappear to stay loved. Now, thank you for being here with me today. And if this episode resonated with you, send it to a person who constantly says, "I don't mind. No, I'm okay. No, I'll agree to everything that you want me to do," while visibly minding very deeply. Send it to them. As always, be gentle with yourself, and your body was trying to protect you. That is how you got to the people pleasing stage. And now you heal. Asanteni.